Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome to our show that's for you and about you. Those that work so freaking hard for your money. You want your money to start working harder for you right now. You want that freedom and cash flow today, not 30 or 40 million years from now, but right now to live that life that you love with those that you love. But most importantly, guys, it's not just about getting rich, it's about living a rich life, because as you are blessed financially, you have a greater ability to create a ripple effect through the lives of others. Guys, I'm so proud to be a Rippler with you today. I appreciate you guys that have been tuning in. You've been binging and sharing our episodes. And even more importantly, you've been implementing the things that you've been learning, hopefully in a good way, not in a way that's actually destructive. But I would imagine if you're implementing things from this show, it's a good thing for sure. As a reminder, be sure to go check out our YouTube channel and subscribe today, the Money Ripples with Chris Miles page. If you haven't done so, go there and subscribe. Not only do you get these podcasts, but we have several other videos, including video shorts, little tidbits of information and things that you can follow along with and consume like crazy. So go check that out.
Chris Miles was able to retire twice by the time he was 39 years old, but he's not content to just enjoy his own financial freedom and peace of mind. Chris wants you to have your own ripple effect so you can live free today. He's not the financial advisor you expected. He's the anti-financial advisor you deserve. He's jumping behind the mic right now, ready to make waves. Here's Chris Miles.
All right, guys. So my special guest today is someone I've actually been friends with for several years. And I'll tell you, as over the years, what I've seen is that he is the guy that gets things done. And I got to tell you, like I just said earlier in this show, many of you get all this information. You probably listen to tons and tons of podcasts, if not just this one. And the problem is that when you listen to these things, often the difference between understanding and getting the results, there can be a big gap, especially if you don't know how to implement on those things. And that's the thing with my guest here today with Blaine Oelkers, who is the America's only chief results officer, right? This guy is all about getting action, getting it done, and getting results, which I am a huge fan of because we always are talking about how to actually get results. And that's where I really want to bring him on today is how do you get better results in your life? It doesn't just have to be financially. It could be in any aspect or area of your life to be able to get those results where you start to live that life of your dreams today. So Blaine, welcome to our show.
Hey, Chris, thank you for having me on. I am so happy to be here. And, like you said, we've known each other for a number of years. So we met through a mastermind group. And I just want to say, thank you for having me on, but also thank you for kind of having the heart of the servant, right? You're out there helping people. I know you retired more than once, and you kind of don't have to do what you do, but you decide to do it because you feel like you're here on the planet to help other people and to create those, I call them results ripples, for other people. And I like that it's in multiple areas of your life. So we met through the mastermind, but you're in some 30-day challenge groups with me. And I see you, especially on the physical side. I'm in awe of the speed at which you can run the mile and run that many miles in a row at that speed. But you're excellent kind of a example, like you lead by example. So I appreciate that. But I am happy to be here today. And hopefully we can impart a results ripple onto some of the listeners today so that they too can get a little bit more done. And like you said, there's this gap here, information is not transformation. And I almost feel like we kind of almost don't need much more information as we do implementation,
Yes.
of you actually getting yourself to do the things that will produce valuable doneness for you, whatever that is. It's very personalized. I call that personal implementation. So that's what I've been kind of studying for a long period of time and honing and refining. And most of the stuff we'll talk about today is self-evident. You give it a little try, you're going to find that it works and it'll work for you, almost immediately.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you bring up about implementation, because I remember there was a Shaolin master that said, I fear the man that's practiced a punch 10,000 times versus the one that's practiced 10,000 moves one time, right? And it's not just about getting a wide spread of information, but how you actually implement and master what you've learned. And I want to know, how did you even become like the chief results officer? Like what was the inspiration behind that?
Yeah. So, I've always been one of the things I am, and maybe many of the listeners could relate to this, is I've always kind of been a little bit of a seeker, looking for
Mhm.
knowledge, trying to figure out how to better myself, and I've always also, like you, kind of had this heart of a servant. Like I always wanted to serve. And back in college, I went back in the 80s, dating
Mhm.
myself here. I went to Purdue, graduated from Purdue University. Actually met my wife there. So we've been married 30 years now. Make sure I get that right. And so anyway, but back in college, I actually saw this little ad for an audio tape about a book called Think and Grow Rich, which I had not heard of. And it was actually Earl Nightingale, who went on to become a mentor of mine, but he was reading an abridged version of Think and Grow Rich. And so you've heard of that book, obviously,
Oh
yes?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So in that book, it talks about think and grow rich. Now, the rich can be money. He talks about money, but it can be anything you want: harmony, better relationships, a better physical body, like anything that you desire. And I realized later, I called it white table. What you think about, you bring about. And so that was kind of the genesis of me, kind of taking control of my life and realizing that, it's not what happens that determines your life future. It's kind of what you do about what happens. And so that was kind of a moment of dawning comprehension for me. And later on, that book went on to influence me even more. And I was able to create businesses that didn't have any daily operations, and kind of a pivotal time for me. Actually, when my son was, I was working a corporate job, and my son was 1 year old, and I'd come back from a business trip, and he kind of gave me the cold shoulder. I'm like, "Hey, Beth, what's going on here?" And she says, "Well, you were gone so long, he kind of forgot who you were." And I was like, "What?" That really kind of hit me hard. And that night, I made this clarifying decision that I would be a work from home dad. That no matter what, like I was going to put my total focus on that, and not even look at anything that wouldn't be something I could work from home. So that was the start of kind of my results journey, is figuring that stuff out. Took me a year, but that was 27 years ago. That I became that work at home dad. Now the kids are gone. We had 2 kids. They're out of the nest now. But what that did is that gave me a lot of time. Once I got free of the job, that gave me a lot of time. That had a big ripple effect in my whole life and gave me more time to study people. So I went on. Jim Rohn was a famous guy that became a big mentor to me. But I started learning as much as I could about that and helping other people. And so people who had mastermind groups, like the one that we met in, they came to me and they said, "Hey, look, would you come and help members get results?" And so now for the last decade, I've been helping business owners get results, personal. So it's personal implementation. You getting stuff done, the most valuable things for you. So I went on and I did, kind of trademark the phrase, and started developing tools and systems and master classes. And actually, a lot of it is experiential. So super results kind of days. So create all that stuff, and I do it, and I love it, and it passes the Powerball test. So some people say, "Well, what's the Powerball test?" So the Powerball test is, if you won the Powerball, which is this big lottery, $500 million, you win that, and once you win that, you're very excited. Now you have to pay taxes. Talk to Chris about how to minimize those taxes, probably, but you have to pay taxes on it. And then let's say you spend a year celebrating, taking care of the kids, setting up the trust funds, buying everybody whatever, buying your chief results officer a new car of his choice, all these big things. But you do that for a year, and a year goes by, and then you've done all that, all the partying, all that stuff. There's nothing else for you to do, and you wake up a year later, you still have 200 million in the bank. What would you do with your life then? So basically you have unlimited resources. And it's interesting that in a workshop setting, 90% of the people will say, "I would help people blank." Now the blank's different for everybody, but it would be about helping other people. So the Powerball test is, would you still do what you do? And so for me, like, I would still be doing this podcast. I would still help people take control of their lives by taking control of themselves, even if I won the Powerball, right? So I'm doing something that we call pass the Powerball test. And there have been points in my life where what I was doing didn't pass the Powerball test. And so then I knew I had to change, and I had to do something, to move and pivot in a direction back towards that thing. So, and for you, someone who's retired twice, I assume you, beyond the money, you enjoy helping people at some level.
Yeah. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Right. Yeah. And I've had to ask myself like the same question: is money were no issue in my life, what would I spend my time doing? And it was a hard question to ask in the beginning. It was really tough for me to come up with an answer because I remember the first answer I came up with was almost more of a social norm type answer. It was more of, oh, I travel more. And I remember the friend that asked me that question said, really, Chris, you're going to travel 52 weeks out of the year? Realistically, what are you going to do the other 40 weeks out of the year? And I was stumped. And I was like, well, maybe I'll teach ballroom dancing, right? Or something like that. And teaching was always the thing that kept coming up. And that's kind of why I'm here doing what I'm doing right now. Not ballroom dancing, obviously. We're teaching about money, right? But it's true. It's such a powerful question to ask.
Yeah. And that's why I say kind of a year out, right? It's a year to get all that other stuff that you want to do. You maybe want to travel, maybe you want to sit on the beach, whatever. You do all that stuff. Take a year to do that. But then, like you said, you're going to come back around to, a little bit more towards your purpose, and maybe kind of what is, divinely given to you, or what gifts were given to you that just feel so good when you're using them. That time, you forget about how long you spent on it because you really just get into that flow of doing it. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of a longer story than maybe you wanted, but that's how I ended up here as the chief results officer.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing you said to me that piqued my attention was, you always hear the thing, it takes 21 days to even just break a habit and then another month or so to try to create a new one. You're saying instead of taking 21 days, you can do it in 21 seconds. How is that possible?
Yes. So the thing that I like is that I have a company called Self-Fluence, the art and science of influencing yourself. And the fact is that I often say that we're powered by self-fluence, meaning that you already know how to do these things. And like let's talk about creating habits. You are already a habit master, and it may be just you realizing that and kind of tapping into that. So they say it takes 21 days to create a new habit. That's false. I'm sorry. Somebody lied to you. But if you could, well, let me ask you this question. So if you could create a new habit in 21 seconds, do you have a new habit in mind, like a physical habit or work habit, or what kind of habit are you looking to create?
I think for me, a good habit would be to avoid snacking at night, especially after like 8 or 9 p.m., just to be able to say, hey, let's break that chain.
So now that is something different, which we could also get into. So bad habit elimination is another topic. So we can get into that. But new habit creation, when you're creating a new habit, I figured out something that I call the 21-second habit. And so the way I stumbled upon it was that my wife, she was having nearly daily migraine headaches. And so the doctors said, look, here's this journal thing. You got to fill this out. Like, so when you get the migraine, like what did you eat? What was the weather like? Was there, all these different things that she had to track, and she could do it for a few days and then she'd lose the logbook. Right. Or, she couldn't find the logbook. Then she'd have a migraine. And I'd ask her, where's the logbook? And that's just not the right thing to do. I realized that very quickly. But what we did is I realized that she needed to fill this out every day. And so we realized that she was a habit master at brushing her teeth. And so we took the headache log and a pen, and we put the toothbrush and the toothpaste on top of it. Now, every time she brushed her teeth, she was a twice a dayer. And she was brushing for 2 minutes, like the dentist said. She would fill out the log, and she went from can't do it for 3 or 4 days to like 90 days in a row. 90 days in a row. And so the key there was what I call habit linking. So habit linking is where you link the new habit to an existing habit. So for me, I had 2 new habits that I wanted to start. One was a Bible app that I wanted to make sure I read every day. And the other one was that I wanted to take a mind shower every day. So now people wash the physical body, but I wanted to wash my mind. And so I use an app. There's a couple of different apps that I use, but Headspace is an example. It's like a meditation, breathing app. But you can use that time to kind of wash away kind of the head trash from the day before. So I do it every morning. But those were 2 new habits that I wanted to start. And so what I realized is that in the morning, I was a habit master at this right here, this device right here, the smartphone. In the morning, there wasn't a morning that has gone by that I didn't look at that phone. I was already a habit master at checking my phone. Now, so what I did is I took all the apps off the front page except for those 2 apps. And I put in there, I said, when I open the phone, I have to do those 2 apps before I can do anything else on that phone. Now, this is kind of an advanced part of the technique of the 21-second habit, is if you can surf an urge to want to do something else. Like in my wife's case, she can't go to bed with that gritty feeling on her teeth. So she was surfing that urge. For me, I wanted to check any orders come in. Did my kids text me? What's going on in the world? Like all these things I want to know, right? But I can't do that until I do those 2 apps. And so the nice thing about those apps is they track how many days in a row you do. So right now, as of today, I think I'm at like 1,477 days in a row without missing that habit. So you want to talk about consistency. And so when you link the habit like that, and then you start to have this unbreakable chain of success, your mentally, your self-confidence goes up, physically, chemically in your brain, you feel good every time you do that habit. And the streak gets longer and longer and longer and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the idea is to link it to something you're already doing. Another example, just a couple of weeks ago, I'm really into next day planning. Like I think that you really need to plan your day. If you're not planning your day, it's like getting on the airplane and there's no pilot. And you look over there, and you look in, and you say to the flight attendant, "Hey, there's no pilot." "Yeah, we don't have a pilot today." Like, how long are you going to sit on that plane? You're not, but that's what you're doing every day when you wake up without a plan. So next day planning. And so there's this lady, she's an attorney, and she said, "I want to start this new habit of planning my day." And I said, "Look, start simple. Piece of paper and a pen, just jot down a few things you want to get done that day." And I said, "What is something that you do without fail every single morning?" She says, "I have a cup of coffee." I said, "Do you ever miss a day?" "No. If I miss a day, I'm a really bad person." So I said, "Look, here's the deal. You have to do the list before you can have that first sip of coffee, or you agree to drink the coffee while you're making the list. But either way, it's tied to something you're already a habit master at, number one. And then number two, if you can surf some kind of an urge, the desire for the cup of coffee, or the desire for me to check my phone, or my wife's desire to brush her teeth, if you can surf an urge, then it's super powerful. And so time after time after time, people are able now to create a new habit by linking it, habit linking to the existing habit, and then surfing an urge. I also say some tips here is to start simple, start with just one habit, just to kind of get used to it. Try to make the resistance as low as possible. It's like if it's a big habit, like exercise, then maybe you get the clothes out the night before, something like that, but try to make it as small as possible. And be sure to kind of like win early and win often, I like to say. So example, like exercise, someone says, "Well, I want to start exercising 30 minutes a day." I say, "Okay, that's good. Let's put that in there, but let's habit link something that's going to make sure you win." So how about 3 minutes of exercise before you get in the shower? You've got that time. If you don't have that time, then, give me 5 push-ups, call that your workout. But psychologically, you want to win, and then you build up bigger and bigger things. You know a lot about that. These 30-day challenges, you are very self-disciplined, and you have pretty good, except for snacking at night, you have pretty good willpower. But this linking doesn't take any willpower. So it's nice that you can create these new habits. You don't need any willpower. You just link it to that existing habit.
Exactly. Man, this is awesome stuff. And that 30-day challenge, like I really look forward to that each morning. I mean, no, sometimes you get towards the end of the challenges when they get really challenging. You get to the end of the month thinking, "Oh boy, now we got 80 bicep curls coming up today. That's going to be tough," but no, I love them. I really look forward to it and now I've created a habit. Every morning I wake up, I actually go and one of the first things I do is check the challenge. Like, okay, what am I doing today? What's happening? And now it's a habit. Now I do it every day, and you've seen that. So man, it's awesome great stuff. I really appreciate it. If people want to follow you, be able to, interact or anything, let's just really learn how to do this, because I think this is essential for consistent, not just habits, but consistent results too. What's the best way for them to follow you?
Probably the easiest thing is about 5 years ago, I did a TEDx talk. And so I talk about this concept of white table, what you think about, you bring about, and I share like a very elegant simple way to program your mind with your top goal, maybe 60 to 100 times a day. So and it's kind of cool. So the easiest thing is just go to BlaineTEDx.com. So BlaineTEDx.com, BlaineTEDx.com. Mm-hmm. And there you can opt in. You can get a copy of my TEDx talk. You get a transcript of it. And then also we'll be connected. You'll get some emails more about me, but then you can just connect to me directly. And then you'll kind of get access to articles you could ask me. I have a whole guide. I have a guidebook about creating new habits, which, nice. Outlines this technique and gives you all the things. Like there's things you do more than once a day that you can link to. There's things you only do once a day, like get up or get dressed. Then there's things that you do weekly, monthly, yearly, so there's like a large list to kind of help you kind of connect up those habits, as well as a whole, bunch of other kind of results stuff. But that's why I'm here on the planet. So I hope I can create kind of a results ripple in your life. And that's what kind of turns me on these days is to help people to have that kind of moment of dawning comprehension, like, hey, I could do this. I can start that new habit, drink more water, whatever the case may be. And then, maybe some other time I can come back and we could talk more about, time management or bad habit elimination. There's some cool things around that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. We'll be sure to put BlaineTEDx.com in the show notes for people, or everybody, if you're just willing to take action right now, just go to BlaineTEDx.com right now. Go check that out and sign up for all those free resources. That's really fantastic and very generous of you, Blaine. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I appreciate being on the show, and I just want to say thank you to you, and I hope your listeners know how special they get to have you on these podcasts. And look, this is work to put this stuff together, to put these ideas together, to put these shows together, and then to put it together in this kind of a format, right? In this format where it's going to live online forever. I want you to know that you are most likely touching lives not yet even born. There's somebody that's not even born yet that has the opportunity to listen to this, whatever, 50 years from now, and get some guidance. A lot of the stuff that you have is timeless, and you're going to be creating ripples for a long time. So, Chris, thank you for doing what you do, and it's an honor to be here today.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Everybody, this is the thing, this is what we want is implementation, real results so that you can create a bigger ripple effect to the lives of others. And so appreciative of Blaine to do that. Hey, and like you said, there's episodes of the show. Maybe you start, try to have it linked together with your bathroom trip and you think of money ripples, right? That's kind of gross, but hey, you could always do that. So whatever it is, we appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, make sure you go and make it a prosperous week. We'll see you later.